Hello, and welcome to the Everyday Fans Podcast, where the game belongs to all of us. No experts, no suits, just fans talking sports the way we live it every day. Hello, and welcome back to another episode of the Everyday Fans Podcast. We're here at the conclusion of Week 6. We usually do these power ranking shows and put them out on Tuesday. And this week, I'll just go off the source, The Athletic, which is a popular sports website. They do a lot of sports content there, and they have a power rankings list that I'm just going to react to. And getting right into it, they have Tampa Bay Buccaneers at number 1. No argument here with me. I probably would have Indianapolis here, but you could there would be 1A and 1B, so no issue here. Baker, MVP candidate. He's doing it with all 3 or 4 receivers that are at the top of the depth chart, as Emeka Egbuka went out this past week. And he's doing it, man. He's slinging the ball. He's making plays down the field. And he's willing this team to victories. If you actually watch some of these games, and they've been on TV in some pretty big spots here, and they have another one coming up on Monday night. So another national audience for that game. But he's willing his team to victory, right? So no issue with the Tampa Bay Buccaneers at number 1. Going down to number 2 here, the Los Angeles Rams. So I probably wouldn't have the Rams right here. I probably would have them a little bit lower, but not a huge issue. 4-2 losses coming to last week. On Thursday night, they lost a heartbreaker to San Francisco 49ers, which they had some costly mistakes late, but that's how, you win games in this league. You keep playing for 48 minutes. In that particular game, it was overtime, or 60 minutes, actually. 60 minutes. In that particular game, they had overtime, so they had to play a little bit longer than that, but they did not come out with that victory. And they also lost to the Eagles on the road in a late game situation. So if the Rams want to be taken seriously, they have to get better at some of these late game situations, the fumbles. The kick was blocked in Philly, and they ended up returning that, even though they would have won the game anyway without the block kick. But they ended up not covering the spread because on the punt, block kick, the defensive tackle ran it back for a touchdown, so they didn't even cover that game. So one of those things that where teams, it's a skill. And my team actually, shout out to the Bears who won last night, they're learning how to win some of these close games late, as their last 2 games have come down to literally the last few seconds. So not a ton of issue with the Rams here. I would have had them slightly lower. Another game at Jacksonville. This is a London game. So if you watch these early morning Sunday games, I think this will be a lot better than what we saw this past Sunday. So Rams traveling to London, taking on the Jaguars, who lost last week at home to the Seahawks, which is a really good team as well. Keeping it moving here, the Indianapolis Colts, they continue to get it done. They played the Cardinals, beat the Cardinals 31-27 this past week. Jonathan Taylor, looking very, very good. If you have him on your fantasy team, probably somebody you got for a bit of value this year, because I think some people were down on him this particular year, but he is the engine for this offense. I know Daniel Jones is a quarterback, but being able to have a back like Jonathan Taylor, a veteran guy who he gets the tough physical yards, and he's somebody you can lean on. And Daniel Jones does not have to just drop back and just sling the ball, even though he's shown capable of getting the ball out quick, hitting a lot of different type of receivers, getting the ball down the field. They're a balanced offense, and it's one of the reasons I have them, pretty high. I have them number 1 in my power rankings, but no issue with the Bucs being there in this one. I mean, these teams are pretty close. Even if you have them down at 3 here, they're the top team in the AFC on this particular list. So no issues here with them. They have the Chargers on Sunday, which will be an interesting game. I think their second trip to LA here this season, as I think they already lost to the Rams. Yeah, their one loss was to the Rams in LA. So let's see if they can get the job done this time going to LA against the Chargers. Banged up team. Both teams banged up, facing some injuries. So that'll be interesting this week. Green Bay at number 4. Okay, no issues as they only have the one loss technically. 3 wins. They beat the Bengals 27-18, escaped late in that game. Romeo Dobbs, they have for fantasy purposes. He's kind of emerged as their guy for Jordan Love to kind of just, get the ball to. I guess you could say in big situations, he already has a few touchdowns. So he's somebody that just seems to show up in the big moments for them in terms of catches, in terms of just making a play. Matthew Golden, their receiver, looks like he's kind of maybe rounding in the form a little bit too. So Green Bay at 3-1-1 at number 4 here. Okay, maybe a little bit lower for me. Not a ton of issue. I want to see them. I want to see how they really handle, to me, some better teams, which the Cardinals Sunday is not one of those. So they'll still have, to me, their schedule is a little bit softer to start the season. That's no shot at them. You play the games that are in front of you, right? So we'll see how this team continues to, develop and build. But the Dallas Tide just kind of left a bad taste in my mouth in terms of this team isn't what I think a lot of people thought they would be coming into the season. Again, they only have one loss. Not a ton of issue. I have them in my top 10. I probably would have had them in like 6, 7, or 8, but not a ton of issue with them here at 4. Moving on, Kansas City. To me, this I get it. 5 is to me is a little high. Great win against the Lions on Sunday Night Football. They get Rashee Rice back this week against the Raiders. So the Chiefs, they're probably about to rattle off some wins here, right? And get back to where they are competing to win that division. As a couple of weeks ago, it looked like, are they even going to make the playoffs, right? The Chiefs are one of these teams that they know how to win. They've been there. They haven't had this much adversity in their run in these last few years, but they're a team that obviously has Mahomes, obviously has Andy Reid at head coach, so they're figuring it out. They're getting their top weapon back on offense in terms of wide receiver this week, so look out. And if you don't have Rashee Rice for fantasy purposes, I think a lot of people have kind of smartened up and had a guy like that just kind of hiding and tucked away on the bench, but he is a guy that will be making a major impact for this team moving forward. Moving on to number 6, the Detroit Lions, coming off the loss to the Chiefs here. Again, they're a 3-3 team, but really good team. They struggle to kind of finish drives. I feel like in the red zone, they kind of stalled out on some drives. I did fall asleep on this game Sunday night as I had a pretty long weekend. But I did watch, some highlights and, saw the fight at the end. The Lions are a gritty physical team. The Lions want to run the football. They want to use Jared Goff and play action. But from what I did see, they were pressuring him a lot early. And Jared Goff, is somebody, if you get pressure on him, he's not a mobile guy. So you're going to be able to affect him and affect the timing. So the Chiefs defensively woke back up this week. Offensively did a great job. So they're a team that, definitely is ascending. So number 6 to me is good here for the Lions, as I wouldn't knock them down too low, because the Chiefs, they'll be right there at the end. Right, they'll be right there at the end in the AFC playoff picture once we get down a few more weeks when they start putting that graphic up on the networks. They'll be right there. Buccaneers for the Lions on Monday night. So monster game, as the NFC North. You're going to have to continue to win games. You're not going to be able to lose multiple games in back-to-back weeks and feel good about winning that division, in my opinion, this year. So the Lions will look to get back on track at home this week against the Buccaneers. Number 7, the Broncos. everybody's going to talk Sean Payton and, what he's done. This defense is just insanely good. Um, the amount of sacks that they're getting a game, I think they're on pace to just crush the all-time record for team sacks by like eight to 10 for like the year, right? They do have the additional game, but I think even if you took that off, they would still outpace that mark for the old record. Um, Obviously, Bo Nix, second year guy, you know, he's had his ups and down kind of moments, right? As any young quarterback is going to have, um, and they're still finding ways to win games, right? So this to me is a type of team that a lot of the league should be worried about because they lead with their defense, right? And from there they get their offense a lot of opportunities to score through takeaways, through three and outs. They get the sacks, so they get negative plays. They're getting the other offense off the field. Obviously, the last game didn't look great at all, 13-11 win over the Jets, but they're winning these type of games where they're giving themselves chances at the end to have the ball, to be able to make a play. And, we've seen Bo Nix, take the team down the field on some of these drives, and win games. A lot of times you don't necessarily always need a touchdown. Um, a lot of times, and even over this past weekend, a lot of teams walking off with field goals. So you keep the game close, you keep the game manageable. You move the ball down the field. You take your points when you get an opportunity. That's the type of team this Denver Broncos team is, and very interested in seeing them against the Chiefs whenever they do play, which I assume will be coming up in the next 4 to 6 weeks, roughly. Moving on to number 8, Philadelphia Eagles. And again, this team, they just got to figure it out, man. Run the football with Saquon, even though it hasn't been effective, because your quarterback is not a guy that can just go out and win you games with his arms. I'm sorry, say what you want. He's just not that guy, in my opinion, right? Really good quarterback, but in the context of how they want to play offense. They want to run the ball. They want to use play action. They want to use Jalen Hurts' legs. And they don't want him just standing in the pocket, looking to sling it to A.J. Brown, Devontae Smith. That's not their formula to success to winning another Super Bowl. Last year, Saquon, 2,000-something yards. Jalen Hurts, high completion percentage, throws that he can manage and, be effective with, right? If you look at a lot of his games, he's not just slinging the ball 40, 50 times a game. He's in the 25 to 30 probably range, very high completion percentage. And, they're not taking a ton of risk with him, right? So this is the type of team, they get down in a game like they did to the Giants. It's a little more difficult for them to win those type of games because, they're not just built to just kind of drop back and throw the ball, especially if the team is playing a run very well, right? So he's missed some guys deep. A.J. Brown is frustrated there. They just got to figure it out, man. They got to figure out this offensive line, this blocking scheme, and just get back to being effective running the ball, because once this tush push, gets out the league, which is probably going to be, this is probably going to be the last year with it. That's going to take a lot of their drives away that they're extending because of this play. It's going to take that away. So we'll see how they continue through this year. I'm okay with them at number 8 because I still think they have a really good roster. Coaching is, I think Nick Sirianni's fine, but, whatever. They just got to figure out a way to get it done. Moving on to number 9, Seattle Seahawks. This team, they know how to win games on the road. They start winning some games at home, they're going to really make some noise. Sam Darnold's looking really comfortable there. Jackson Smith and Jigba, shout out Ohio State Buckeyes. Receivers who are just continuing to get it done, or just Buckeyes, period. But, the receivers, offensive guys are always going to get the love. Really, really good year so far for these guys. They're just losing games at home, and these aren't games where they just, dropping the ball. They had a shootout last week against Tampa Bay, and they just one costly mistake toward the end by Sam Darnold, a ball that hit a defender's helmet and then got intercepted, essentially cost them the game. Buccaneers kick a field goal and they win. So this team at 4-2 is very dangerous. I don't think this is a team anybody just wants to play, and it doesn't matter if they're at home or on the road. They're actually a better road team than they are at home right now. So looks like Monday versus the Texans. So I'm assuming we having two Monday night games again. I don't get why they're doing this, but whatever. ESPN just wants to content, I guess. I don't know, but no issues with Seattle at number 9 here. Jacksonville, to me, you got to bring them down a little bit after the last loss this Sunday to the Seahawks, who I think is a good team. I probably wouldn't have them as high as 10, but probably not lower than 15. A lot of their wins, they're getting these turnovers defensively. They're not really winning games with their offense or just defensive things that you can, kind of predict, like sacks or stopping and run, stuff like that. I mean, they've had some good games, right? Don't get me wrong, but you can't predict turnovers. You can't rely on saying, hey, we're going to get a turnover this week. You can try very hard for it, but I think, things will start to settle a little bit for this team. 4-2. Again, this is why I didn't do my own power rankings, because a lot of these teams are just kind of like right there. They get another opportunity Sunday in London against the Rams, which I think is a really good team. I think they were up at number 2 on this list. So another opportunity for them to show the world what they're capable of, a national broadcast. But I'm not really sold on this team. I think Indy is still in the driver's seat, obviously, to win that division, only having 1 loss. But Indianapolis struggles, especially going to Jacksonville to win. So that'll be an interesting division to still just keep an eye on. Going down to number 11, the Pittsburgh Steelers, not really getting the respect. I had them in my top 10. I probably would have moved them up a little bit more after this week. It's not sexy, but they know how they want to play football, right? Big personnel, protect Aaron Rodgers. The run game isn't even super effective, but it's doing enough for them to win these games. Yes, they played the Browns. Their defense is kind of rounded in the form of what you expect from a Mike Tomlin Pittsburgh Steelers defense. No issues here. I think they should be a little bit higher, in my opinion, but they're just finding ways to win games. It's not sexy. It's not, going to be the number 1 offense in the league in terms of fantasy production. You might get some games from them here and there. Like DK had a pretty good game when they were overseas. I think that was 2 weeks ago because they were on a bye. But Aaron Rodgers is still continuing to get it done. Mike Tomlin winning games like he always does in Pittsburgh. It's just ultimately, let's see what that turns into, right? They get to the playoffs. They crap the bed. They play the Ravens. They crap the bed, and they're out after just getting in. So we'll see if that changes this year. They do have – this is a Thursday night game, so going to be an ugly one as they play at Cincinnati this week. Joe Flacco, 2 40-year-old quarterbacks, right? Very exciting Thursday night game. Joe Flacco versus Aaron Rodgers. Number 12, the extremely – and it just continues to get worse, 49ers at 4-2. I expect them to just kind of keep sliding unless they make some trades. They're going to get some guys back here, especially on the offensive side. But defensively, I mean, they just keep it's crazy, man. Like every team has injuries, but I feel like the 49ers the last few years, not even just this year, it's just one after another, man. But still at 4-2, that just shows you what type of organization this is. They're finding ways to win, and they have a primetime spot here against the Falcons, and the Falcons just coming off a big win. So I don't know what the number on this game will be. I know 49ers will be underdog, but depending on the points, I might look at San Francisco in this game. Just, as an early in the week look ahead type of spot. Because a lot of people just put too much stock into what the Falcons did against the Bills and just see the injuries with the 49ers. But we already saw this banged up 49ers team win at home, yes, at home against a really good Rams team. Don't count this team out because they have a really good scheme. They plug guys in and they just keep it moving, right? So 49ers at 12. Let's see if they can keep it going. 4-2, another 4-2 team. Number 13, another 4-2 team. Again, this is why I didn't do my own power rankings because it very little movement, right? Chargers big win over the Dolphins. Again, just like the 49ers, this is another team, and I think this is why maybe some of these rankings have them down. A lot of injuries. Offensive tackles are down. One is out for the year. Top two running backs are down. One is out for the year. But this is Vidal. He stepped up and had, look at 124 yards on 18 carries. So Jim Harbaugh plugging in a guy and just, keeping it moving. Justin Herbert, one of the better quarterbacks in the league. I think this team may be able to figure it out, but they have a tough test this week at home against the Colts. So opportunity for them to show that they're still one of the top teams in the league as they started really, really hot. I think they had 2 losses in a row, so able to get back on track here. So let's see how that game shakes out on Sunday at 3:05 when they play the Colts in LA. So this team I don't think is getting enough respect at 4-2. I would have definitely had them higher. Maybe number 10, maybe not super duper high, but that was a good win at Buffalo last Sunday night. And then you go in and take care of business against the Saints. Drake May is, looking like the best quarterback out of that draft to date. Obviously, Jaden had his year. I think Caleb is playing really well this year. Drake May is playing fantastic. Completion percentage is way up. Mike Vrabel is kind of trying to turn things around. The run game is absolutely terrible. They're fumbling. They don't have. They're not getting yardage when they're running. So they definitely will have to improve on that. But let's see what this New England Patriots team does. So the first time since obviously the Tom Brady era, when they were really winning, that they have a team or a quarterback that they can look at and say, okay, we can do something with this, as they are the number 1 seed in the NFC East now. The Bills at 4-2, they're at 4-2, and they already beat Buffalo. So Buffalo, they better get it together, man, because this New England team is they're right there. Obviously, a lot of football left, but they're right there. Moving on to 15, and when we get to some of these teams, we're just gonna fly by them because they're not worth really talking about. At number 15, the Falcons with a big win over the Bills last night. Bijan doing it, Bijan type things, career high 170 yards. Michael Penix definitely looking to get his number 1 receiver. I know I didn't watch the game because the Bears were on, but I know Drake London. So their top 2 weapons offensively, they were getting those guys the balls as any good offense should look to do. So monster win for these guys. They didn't really score much in the second half, as I feel like they had 21 at halftime, so only 3 points in the second half, but their defense was there. I think 14 points to a Buffalo Bills team is a pretty good day for a defense. So Atlanta Falcons looking to improve next week as they go to San Francisco to play the 49ers. The Bills, to me, this is way too, they slid a little too much for me. I don't know if I would have had them still in the top 10 as, 2 losses in a row. But 16 to me is a little extreme. Obviously, Josh Allen, James Cook, the focal points of that offense. But they do need to get it together. They have a bye coming up this week. So a good time to kind of just reset, refocus, and get some things done for them. I don't know where I would have had them at. Probably in the 10, 11, 12 range. But 16 just feels kind of low as there's 16 teams in the league. I don't think they're a middle of the pack NFL team in terms of power rankings. Minnesota Vikings. So they were on a bye this past week. Nothing much to highlight here in terms of what they did. this is a team that probably, yeah, they were 16 last week, so they moved down one spot, but they didn't have a game. So they're a team that got some quarterback issues. I don't see who their next game is this week. So not a whole bunch to highlight there with Minnesota. No issues with them. My Chicago Bears. Okay, the Vikings. Looks like the Vikings play the Eagles on Sunday. So tough game. It looks like it's a home game. So tough game for the Vikings coming up against the Eagles. As the Eagles need to win, and for the Vikings to keep pace in the NFC North with some of these other teams, they'll need to keep winning. Okay, my Chicago Bears. Shout out to the Bears last night. Still learning how to win these tight, close games. Walk-off field goal. Monster win. Not a ton of issues with them down here at 18. They haven't proven a ton yet. 3 wins in a row, fine, all good. Another opportunity to improve on that record against the Saints on Sunday. Not a team I would take lightly. Roma Doomsday continues to emerge as a #1 receiver. Caleb had some inaccuracies last night, in my opinion. The refs really made things difficult, I felt like, for the Bears last night, but ultimately they were able to get the win. So they move on to 3-2. I'm not going to be a homer and just, highlight this team. I think I'm going to do another video this week in terms of them and some other teams and the trajectory of some things. Maybe a video on some of these young quarterbacks. Number 19, the team they just beat, Washington Commanders at 19 at 3-3. A lot of injuries for this team. I think this is still a playoff caliber team, as the Eagles are only, 4-2, so they're still right there in the division. The Eagles aren't running away with it, and I don't think they will at all. Big divisional game for these guys coming up is now they have to go to Dallas, where they play pretty well. Dallas has been up and down all season. They lost Sunday, so this is a week that they're going to try to improve on their season. So big game for both teams here to just try to keep their season and playoff, I shouldn't say playoff, divisional hopes alive there, as the Eagles are still atop the division. They're at 4-2. The Houston Texans, on a bye week this past week. Not a whole bunch to say there, 2-3. They'll look to get better as they go to Seattle on Monday. So tough game for Houston coming out of the bye against a red-hot Seahawks team. Although they did lose that game to the Buccaneers, the offense is looking good, and then they come back and get the win against Jacksonville. So Seahawks aren't just a team, you're looking to get right against. But coming out of the bye, maybe they have a little bit extra time to get ready for these guys. So Houston down at 20. Carolina Panthers, big win over the Cowboys on Sunday. They're 3-3. Bryce Young looking better, right? Enrico Dowdle looking really good out of the backfield for Carolina with the injury to Chuba Hubbard. So Carolina Panthers moving up from 24 last week. No issues with that. Shout out to Bryce Young and the Panthers kind of getting it done. The Giants were moving up a couple of spots at 27. So these young boys for the Giants, I'm glad they're letting these kids play, man. Cam Scatterboo, Jackson Dart, they look like they have something going with those two young guys on offense. They show up some things on their defense. If this team can get hot, I know the Bears have them coming up, early on. I'll just sort of circle this as an easy win. I don't think this will be as easy as a win as most teams will just have them pegged for. Not saying there's some world beaters, as they got to go to the Broncos this Sunday. Extremely tough game for them. But great win over the Eagles. Glad they're letting their young players play and giving them a chance to develop. So up 5 spots at 22. Dallas falling below them at 23 at 2-3-1. Not a ton to say here on Dallas. Dak is playing very well. Their defense is just atrocious, and when you can't stop anybody, you can't just rely on your offense just constantly scoring you 30+ points every week to win games, right? It's extremely difficult to do. So as they're finding out now, so If they can shore some things up for their defense, I think they can win some more games. But as for now, they have no answers for that. Obviously, trading Micah Parsons away, but I think even if he was there, I don't know if it would be making as big a deal as you may think. Because that's just my opinion. Arizona down 2 spots, very competitive against the Colts without Kyler Murray, so that does not look good for him in terms of the backup coming in and keeping the team very competitive against one of the top teams in the NFL this year. So Arizona, not a ton to say there. They're struggling. Marvin Harrison went out with a concussion. Now they have the host of the Packers. So let's see what this team can do. I need some of these teams in the NFC North to lose. So maybe Arizona can pull out an upset here on Sunday, but not very likely to do. Baltimore way down at 25. Ouch. But 1-5 team. They just 3 points. They just can't. They struggling, man. Bye is coming up, and then they have my Chicago Bears coming out after their bye. So I'm anticipating Lamar being back, but Baltimore is just a train wreck here, just like the rest of these teams down here, as we'll speed by. Raiders at 26, Bengals at 27, New Orleans at 28, Miami at 29, the Cleveland Browns at 30, Tennessee Titans at 31, and the New York Jets down at 32. All of these teams down here just at that point, starting with the Ravens going down with 1 win, or down at the Jets with 0. They're just really struggling. I'm not going to spend a lot of time on those teams. If those are one of your teams, you want to talk about something or get my opinion on one of those teams, drop it down in the comments. Please like, comment, subscribe. It helps the channel. Any questions, any things you disagree on, you want my opinion on, just drop a question down in the comments. I will respond. Just give me some time, to get back with you. Usually within 24 hours, I'll definitely respond. And thank you guys for your time on another video. We'll see you. I'm trying to get another one out this week. It's been very difficult with my new schedule, just trying to get rest and get things going on. But I'm going to try to do another 1 or 2 videos this week. So look out for those. Like I said, like, comment, subscribe. Thank you guys, and we'll see you in the next one. Peace.